Good morning, everybody. Man, what a thing to wake up to. This is absolutely bananas. Bitcoin is really, it's crazy, man. It's fallen so hard. The Japanese stock market really fell overnight, US time. And kind of as you've heard me say in basically a ton of other videos, when markets fall, no one has Bitcoin as the precious thing that they're going to starve before they sell their Bitcoin. Pretty much everybody's going to go ahead and and liquidate things, especially large players. And so, with that being said, that is going to the Japanese economic situation is going to impact things globally, just like a lot of other large countries would. And so you're just getting a lot of selling off. Now, crazy enough is this is exactly what I've been saying is going to happen. Literally, if you go back and look on, oops, that's not going to help anything. Maybe this one. Here we go. So if you kind of go back and look over here on the Facebook page, I kind of talked about this scenario right here where, here, let me see if I can make it big and you can see it. But pretty much 64,000 I thought was kind of this range where we should see some resistance right in here, and then we've got to really hold this level to go up, or if we don't hold this level, it goes down. And so if we take a look at really what's been going on, let me see here. Let me get back over to the zoomed in a little bit to some reasonable time frames. All right, so this is on the daily chart right here. It's been going up, and it decided instead of going down, it didn't hold the 64,000 support. It was like boop, straight up to almost, basically $70,000, which is, just impressive to say the least. But again, it goes to support the thesis that I had in the following post, which is like, man, this is a whole lot happening in a short period of time. I'm expecting some downside. And so when we came down, it was, do we hold this $58,000 to $60,000 level? And if so, really needed to stay above this 55, 56 level in order to really consider this kind of a solid support range. You can see my yellow box. This is just my preference. These wicks over here and the closes, this is where I feel like the strongest support was going to be, is that it would bounce here, bounce here, bounce here. It broke here, and then it should bounce here and go up if we're going to go up. Basically, if it held this level, I feel like it's bullish. If it didn't hold this level, it's going to go down. And crazy enough, it went down crazy fast. And so really what's really amazing about this is you look down here at this support level over here of this $52,000 range, and boy, did we just absolutely demolish it. In fact, what's even crazier is this level of support right here, this 49,000. You see this little wick right here? If I was to draw a line right there, look where it freaking went to. I mean, people say that these are just lines on charts, and it's totally true. But the reality is that when it comes to human emotion, it is just predictable. It is just, there's a price where people are like, dude, this is crazy. It seems so cheap. If you really want some learning, you can go read about the Fibonacci sequence and how it's all over the world. It's in everything you do, and it's a part of how you think. And so part of how people make decisions when they buy and sell is just a programming thing that we already have. And so with that being said, look at this, went all the way down to 49,000. I did not expect that at all. I was buying in this little box right here because I really felt like we were solid. So to wake up early this morning and see it was down here, I was like, that's interesting. Let's see how long we stay. Obviously, once the market's open, things have bought up quite quickly, which is really nice. But with that being said, to kind of come back over here and look at some of the stuff that I had on here, I posted a YouTube video about the monthly candles, right? And really kind of how the monthly candles were looking pretty good. There's very bullish right here. Again, this is the month. You can see the month in the very top there. But all these candles are going up. We're consolidating in here. This is actually very good for 2025, which is going to be over here. We should be breaking out eventually. Again, on the monthly chart, everything's looking great. You see these big wicks down, which I made a follow-up video, if you remember, and I was like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. It still makes sense that we're going to go lower because if you look back at 2019, we had all these retests, then we had a breakout, and then we had an ultimate retest of the lows because it had to fill all of this liquidity. And then I showed you how that happens over on the other chart. And so if I come back over here, no, not that one. On this guy, I showed you that that's what happened in the past, and that when this was drawn, I was saying, it really looks like we're going to get a retest to some extent. It really looks like we're really kind of getting this 1, 2, 3. Then it's going to pump. Then it's probably going to sell off. And where did it go? What's really crazy is this chart is not updated. Like it's still saying Bitcoin's 58 grand. And it's clearly not. Huh. I wonder what's going on with TradingView today. Interesting. Well, fun fact, this candle came all the way down here. We'll look at it on a different one, I guess. And you can see, if you draw a line right there, you get 1, 2, 3. It runs up and it sells off. And what does that make? A big old line. And that's just, again, this should be plenty of support. Plenty of support. You have really your all-time highs, from your first run up over here. It has a double top kind of over here, but this would be extremely strong support right in here. This was already strong support, but this little top right here is going to be extremely strong support. I honestly, I was thinking so much about downward pressure that I didn't think that this was going to happen, that I didn't even look at this until this morning, and was like, holy cow, it did. It went all the way down to that. And, you live and you learn. But here's kind of your range highs. Here were your range lows. If this didn't hold, this is your support. And it's just as simple as that. So let's kind of jump into a couple of different things. Just really quickly, the dollar is falling like crazy. Oh, we already looked at that. It's not updated for some reason. The dollar is falling like crazy. Not a shocker there. If we come back over, this is the market cap. Here we go. This is what I wanted to show you the other day. I told you that we were going to fill this gap. This is the CME Futures Gap. And what that means, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Basically, when the markets are actually open, it definitely trades on a futures contract. A futures contract is basically a financial tool that people use to be able to predict the future price in order to hedge against, different variables. So if you haven't heard this before, a good example would be like if you're a corn farmer or even oil, some commodity, to where if you're farming corn and you're worried about a drought this summer, you could buy futures at a certain price, and that way when the summer gets here, if the prices of corn have skyrocketed, you have a contract already to go ahead and buy it at that price. And so it trades on its own little market. But this gap, I told you, it's like a magnet. It wants to get filled. Here's what's crazy, though, that CME gaps can't get filled over the weekends because there is no market over the weekend. And so it literally created a whole new gap by filling this gap. And so I don't know what that was. A link to YouTube of some kind. So literally now we're in a position to where we have this crazy new gap, which clearly isn't going to be a problem to fill because it's going to come up. But it's really interesting. It's going to go ahead that this gap and this gap cannot be considered filled. And so we actually have to come up now to fill these downward gaps, which is kind of bizarre. But that's really positive for the upside of Bitcoin. So anything that you've accumulated down here, now it's a magnet pulling it up, which is really great. And again, this was insanely fast. If you really kind of come back and look at previous gaps that got filled, I'd have to map it out here. Like it doesn't always happen insanely fast. Like literally this guy over here, I mean, what is this? Dailies? So this one was 500 something days. This one was like 285 days. You can see the little number right there. It doesn't always happen very quickly, right? That's 50 days. And so now here we are in a potential, creates this gap, and we're 21 days away. It's just kind of interesting to see how fast that happened. Obviously, this is great. I'm ecstatic about this. Anytime you can get a buying opportunity, this is like the crypto heavens looking down upon you and saying, we forgive your sins. You may now buy at cheap prices again. It's kind of silly, but the next thing is really kind of the dominance. So one of the things that I've kind of been looking at over the weekend and definitely on Friday was the Bitcoin dominance. This is all the money that goes into crypto. And specifically this right here is the Bitcoin dominance. How much of all the money in crypto is in Bitcoin? It's 57%. Well, something about this chart is you can use it to see roughly when altcoin season might also start. Altcoin season is going to be the price of every other, crypto. And in comparison, is Bitcoin performing better, or are those altcoins performing better? And we're reaching this resistance line at the bottom here. So you could see that it comes down, it tests its support, goes up, comes down, tests its support. Now it broke it. Now it's going to come up and test it as resistance, which is kind of what this is. But this is really our first retest of resistance right here at 57, 50, almost 58 actually is up here. But we're really hitting this line. Anywhere in between here, between 57 and 60% is going to be kind of where people stop putting money into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will stall out, and the money will probably be going into the altcoins. And so then you'll see a lot of these altcoins start to pump. It's not a guarantee, but it is a variable that we do look at. Things can be range bound like this, and it can also be, Bitcoin season, now it's altcoin season, Bitcoin season, now it's altcoin season. So it can kind of go back and forth and back and forth. There's other variables we'll look at as we get closer to that. But the amount of money going into Bitcoin right now is good. And that's because in uncertain times you move towards safety, right? It's why people go to cash. It's why people go to gold. It's why people buy Bitcoin in the crypto market instead of the altcoins, is because there's just lower risk in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going to fall 10%, then altcoins are going to fall, 30% or 50%. If I look at, let's pick one of these guys. So literally looking at this, this is, how much did this fall? That's 45% from Tuesday, July 30th. And if I go back and we look at this and we look at July 30th onward and measure the same thing, it's not 45%, it's 26%. So neither seem really that great, but at the end of the day, this is just, there's more volume in this, and so it's protected a little bit better. Okay, let me see if there's anything else that I really wanted to make sure I covered this morning. We talked about the dominance. We talked about the CME gaps. That is just so wild to me. This is the market cap. The dollar is crashing. This is not updating because it's dumb. I don't know why. This is not where the price is. It's down here. 53, and it really went all the way to 49, which is just crazy when you think about it. 49 is like right at 49.8, something like here. Man, it really broke this trend line, but it won't close. So let's go. That's the last thing we should probably look at. I'll look at Ethereum too really quick. Is if you were to look at a trend line between these dots, right? You kind of, not even close, Brian. There we go. Let's try a little harder. Okay, so we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, and realistically what we're looking for, come on, you can do it, is this literally needs to close above this line to be considered upon this trend, like up on top of this trend and act as support, right? And we've come down, we've wicked up, and if this body right here closes above $52,000, then I would say, all right, that's very bullish. I don't think that's a shocker. Anytime, the faster it falls and the more it falls, the higher probability, just in a basic statistics approach here, the higher probability that it bounces, but also that the recovery is quick. So, for example, in my little drawing that I did on Facebook, one of the things that is wrong about this hypothesis is just me repeating itself over and over again and not paying attention, that if I was to think about this differently and redo this, when it goes down, if it was to go down very quickly, it would not actually consolidate down here and then reverse. Consolidation down here would imply that it would probably go down again. And realistically, if it was to fall very quickly, it's probably going to bounce back up relatively quickly within a couple of candles. And so we'll have to watch it over the next couple of days. But in this case, you're going to see some consolidation, and then it's going to make a decision up or down. If it holds this as support, in this case, because it fell so fast, it's probably not going to consolidate down here. It's going to go and move very quickly. Hence, if you look at a 1 hour chart, how it came down really fast, and look at this, you've already got one big green candle since the market's open, another big green candle, and so it's just going to keep doing that until it finds either support or another resistance level that it's going to bounce off of, and maybe we go lower. If we were to go lower our downside targets, let's take a look at that. I just don't, I couldn't imagine that, but that's our first downside target right there. The next one's probably going to be about 45, so 49, then 45,000, then we're going to fill this gap around 40 if we keep going down. That would be pretty insane to see, but boy, that would be cool for the short term. Let me see here. So we come over and we look at Ethereum. If we look at Ethereum is another one that, again, just from a technical standpoint, is looking really good. You see this orange line I put in here. It was holding as support, and then it came flipped, and now it's resistance, flips, comes back over. Now it's support, and then it goes up. And once it goes up, it's going to do its thing, and now it's coming back down, of course, and it's testing as resistance. And where is it going to test? Testing as support. And where is it going to test as support? The same place it always has. This is kind of the most likely level. Before later, other than that, I mean, it would have to drop pretty decent amount to be at the next real level of support. I just noticed this little trend line right in here. How interesting is this? So in theory, that could be another potential. If we looked really quick, let's say it came through here, you'd have support, or you'd have resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, here. So if it keeps coming down over the next couple of days, maybe $2,000. But I mean, it already went to 2,100, so it's fairly close to being tested. Where are we on the seeing? It's been bought up pretty quick. So we'll see what happens. This is an extremely strong support level right here. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, just wanted to kind of update everybody on what's going on down. The markets have absolutely been just crashing, and it validates all of our theories that we had in here. This is a lot of our support. This is our strong range of support. We want to really stay on top of that. We already are. If we zoom in here, we can see that we're already above it. We just need to close above it. It also lines up with this trend line. We want to close above that. And then this pattern repeating itself in 2019. Again, these are all things that, I'm looking at from a standpoint of, all right, this is confirmation. The only thing that concerns me is this, and I should have done this at the beginning of the video, but the only thing that concerns me is that the bull market, like if we come back into wherever my little silly drawing is, how many Bitcoin things could I possibly have? So literally whenever we take off here, kind of whatever that looks like, it's going to go up. It's probably going to get rejected at a certain point, most likely around 100 grand, because it's just such a round number. It'll come back down. That'll be a big bounce, and then it'll eventually break through the 100,000, and that's where the question becomes, what's next? So between us breaking this top and ultimately heading towards 100 grand, between now and then, what's going to happen? And for me, I don't know. I just feel like there's so much time. I need to go back and see if there's kind of any correlation that I could really look at. Like, for example, when did we break this high right here? This would be 13,000. This would be like our 70,000 in this case. So from that point all the way over to when it broke was 500 days. So from the summer of 2019 to the fall of 2020, So, man, I just feel like that's a very long time. If we were to look at that as well over here, let's see if there's any correlation. It's close enough. 500 something days. See, I feel like that's way a long time away. And the only reason I say that is the runs happen in that last 6 months. So a lot of this will happen. It's very parabolic, as you can see over here. Really happens kind of quickly. This is really from like October of 2020 to, I mean, that's, 6, 8 months, whatever. And then obviously this one ran for the summer to November, so another 6 months ish. So it runs relatively quickly. That last 6 months is really the thing that goes up. So between now and, let's just say it was going to be the summer of 2025 to the end of the year, between now and the summer of 2025, boy, that's a lot. That's all the way over here. So what the heck's going to happen in between here? Do we actually experience a brand new load? Is it really going to retest these 40,000 levels? I'll go and do some due diligence and some analysis of previous markets and see. With us falling this quickly, it makes me wonder if this is a big shakeout. It really does, which would mean that we don't have prolonged agony over here of sideways chop. We could have a lot of volatility, which would be very, very good. But I'm just not sure. So I'll do some homework on that and probably put that in our next video. But anyway, just wanted to go ahead and share. The thesis is definitely playing out, and I am now long. I've flipped from short to long when we hit this box down here. For those who are curious about my methodology, basically I find the supports and I buy and sell within those. So I added some within this $60,000 range in my spot account. So like if you're buying and just holding, this is one range that I would buy in, and this is a range that I buy in also. For me, I also trade futures, and so I have to be more conservative. So my futures contracts are bought down here. But if I wanted to just trade a range, I could sell it when we get up here. That's pretty simple. You buy low, you sell high, and you can do that as many times as you think you can. And you sell up here when you're going short, and you close it out down here. So anyway, that's a little bit about kind of the approach. I'll go and extend those lines. Basically, we're still in the exact same pattern. Nothing has really changed moving forward. These support and resistance lines, these levels are still good. It's just, is this now going to act as resistance? Does this come up, boom, 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 hit this and come back down, meaning it's rejected? Or does it go up above it, come back down, test it as support, now we're going up? As of the moment, it looks like that's probably the most likely, just because it's a retest of this line. We're probably going to go up over the next week or two and eventually get up into this low 60 range, turn around, come back down, test $58,000 to $60,000 as support, and that gives us a springboard to go up and finally fill this open interest and extra liquidity down here. Like I said, that's all we were doing down here, is all this liquidity that was available, it all got filled. So now this is another area that the market just wants to test. So we'll see what happens. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're profitable, and we'll see you next time.